"I speak 9 languages," said the daughter of black cleaning lady. The millionaire man laughed, but got shocked. The marble floors of Grayson Industries gleamed under crystal chandeliers as 12-year-old Hope Saltman gripped her broom handle, sweeping around the reception desk with surprising efficiency for someone so young. Her mother, Josette, worked the night shift here, cleaning offices for executives who earned more in a day than they made in months. Melton Grayson strode through the lobby with 3 business associates, his voice echoing off the polished surfaces as he discussed a failed international deal. The arrogant CEO's frustration was evident as he declared loudly, "The problem with these foreign partnerships is that half these people can barely speak proper English. How are we supposed to conduct serious business when we're dealing with limitations?" Hope paused, her sweeping, her jaw tightening. Despite her young age, she had heard this man's dismissive comments before, always delivered with the assumption that the cleaning staff were invisible. Grayson noticed the 12-year-old and smirked with cruel amusement. "Perfect example right here. Look at this kid. Probably can't even read at grade level. These people just don't have the intellectual capacity for anything beyond manual labor." The words hung in the air like a slap. Hope straightened to her full height, still barely reaching the man's chest, her dark eyes flashing with intelligence far beyond her 12 years. "Actually, sir," she said firmly, "I speak 9 languages fluently." The lobby fell silent. Grayson's associates exchanged uncomfortable glances while the CEO let out a condescending laugh that echoed through the vast space. 9 languages? Grayson's voice dripped with mockery as he towered over the small girl. "Right, and I suppose you learned them at some fancy prep school?" His associates chuckled nervously, clearly uncomfortable watching a grown man mock a child, but none dared to intervene. If you believe everyone should be treated with respect no matter who they are, hit that subscribe button right now and type "respect" in the comments. Only those who don't respect others won't subscribe. What happened in those next few moments would shatter everything Melton Grayson believed about intelligence, worth, and the dangerous cost of his prejudice. This 12-year-old girl was about to turn his entire world upside down in ways he never saw coming. But first, you need to understand exactly who Hope Saltman was, and how a child from the poorest neighborhood in Boston had acquired knowledge that would soon save a multi-million-dollar company from complete disaster. To understand what happened next, you need to know who Hope Saltman really was. This 12-year-old girl lived in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in East Boston with her mother Josette and 6-year-old brother Marcus. Their home had peeling paint and secondhand furniture, but it was filled with something far more valuable: warmth, books, and the constant sounds of multiple languages floating through the air. Josette had immigrated from Haiti at 21 with nothing but determination and dreams for her future children. Now she worked 3 grueling jobs to support her family's education, cleaning offices at night, stocking shelves at dawn, and serving lunch at a local diner. She spoke 4 languages herself, holding a master's degree in education from Haiti that America refused to recognize. Hope's extraordinary journey began when she was just 7 years old. While other kids played with toys, she discovered the public library's language learning section and became completely fascinated with the patterns and structures of different tongues. Her exceptional mind absorbed languages like a sponge absorbs water. By age 12, Hope had mastered 9 languages: Spanish, English, French, Portuguese, Italian, German, Mandarin Chinese, Arabic, and Russian. She taught herself using free library resources, online videos, and conversations with immigrants in her neighborhood who were amazed by this tiny girl's hunger for knowledge. Despite being the youngest in her classes, Hope earned straight A's at the prestigious Boston Latin Academy prep program. Her teachers whispered among themselves that they were witnessing a once-in-a-generation talent. But advanced educational opportunities remained painfully out of reach due to financial constraints. While her wealthy classmates attended expensive tutoring sessions and summer programs abroad, Hope spent her evenings helping her mother clean offices and watching Marcus. Meanwhile, Melton Grayson lived in a completely different universe. He had inherited Grayson Industries from his father at 30 and spent 22 years building the international consulting firm into a $400 million empire. His Beacon Hill mansion overlooked Boston Harbor. His garage held a collection of luxury cars worth more than most people's homes, and his exclusive club memberships reflected his unshakable belief that financial success equated to intellectual and moral superiority. Grayson prided himself on his Harvard MBA and frequently dismissed anyone he deemed intellectually inferior. His prejudices ran bone-deep, shaped by a privileged upbringing that never once challenged his assumptions about class, race, and intelligence, especially when it came to children from those backgrounds. If this story is keeping you on the edge of your seat, smash that subscribe button because this confrontation is about to get absolutely insane. Now, back in that marble lobby, the tension was about to explode. Grayson stepped closer to Hope, his 6-foot frame towering over the small girl, as cruel amusement danced in his eyes. "You know what, kid?" he said with theatrical malice. "I'll make you a deal. There's an ancient manuscript in my office that my professional translators have been struggling with for months. It's critical to a $75 million deal with a consortium in Prague." His voice grew increasingly mocking as he addressed a 12-year-old, as if she were a business rival. "If you can actually translate it, and I mean actually translate it, not just make something up like kids do, I'll give your mother a real promotion. But when you fail, which you will, you both pack up and find jobs somewhere else. Deal?" The words hit like a physical blow. Hope's mother Josette appeared from around the corner, having overheard the conversation. Terror filled her face. They couldn't afford to lose this job, and she was horrified that her boss was making cruel bets with her child's future. "Mr. Grayson," Josette said softly, her voice trembling, "please, my daughter meant no disrespect. She's just 12 years old." But Hope stepped forward, her young voice steady with confidence that seemed impossible for someone so small. "It's okay, Mom. I accept your challenge, Mr. Grayson, but let's make it more interesting." Grayson raised an eyebrow, intrigued despite himself. The sheer audacity of this child was almost entertaining to him. "If I succeed," Hope continued with breathtaking boldness, "you don't just promote my mother. You establish a scholarship fund for kids like me, smart kids from poor families who deserve a chance to learn. If I fail, we'll quit tonight, and I'll write you a letter apologizing for thinking I'm smarter than I am." The tension in that lobby became electric. Grayson's 3 business associates shifted uncomfortably, finally realizing this had escalated far beyond appropriate. A grown CEO was essentially gambling with a child's family's livelihood for his own amusement. But Grayson was too arrogant to back down now. He extended his hand with a predatory smile. "You're on, little genius, but we're doing this right now, in front of witnesses. What do you think? Was Hope being brave or foolish to accept this impossible challenge? Drop your thoughts in the comments." What none of them knew was that this ancient manuscript would reveal far more than anyone expected, and Hope's translation wouldn't just save her family, it would expose a massive fraud that threatened to destroy Grayson's entire empire. Grayson led the group through the marble corridors to his executive office, a breathtaking testament to wealth and power. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked Boston Harbor, where luxury yachts dotted the water like expensive toys. The office screamed success. From the hand-carved mahogany desk to the original oil paintings worth more than most people's annual salaries. He moved to his private safe, a massive steel vault hidden behind a false wall panel. With theatrical precision, he retrieved an ornate wooden box, its surface carved with intricate patterns and inlaid with precious metals. From within this treasure chest, he carefully removed a document written on aged parchment that seemed to whisper of ancient secrets. "This manuscript," Grayson announced to his associates with the confidence of a man who had never been wrong, "contains the genealogical records and property rights of a Czech noble family. The Prague Consortium claims it proves their ownership of certain valuable properties we want to develop for a luxury resort complex." He paused dramatically, savoring his moment of superiority. "My Harvard-educated translators, PhDs in linguistics and medieval studies, say it's written in an archaic dialect that's nearly impossible to decipher. They've been working on it for 4 months. Grayson handed the precious document to Hope with theatrical flourish. his eyes gleaming with cruel anticipation as he watched the small girl's hands carefully accept the ancient parchment. "Take your time, kiddo. Don't worry about the $75 million riding on this translation. No pressure at all." The manuscript felt fragile in Hope's small hands, its edges worn smooth by centuries of handling. She examined it with the reverence of someone who understood she was holding a piece of history. Her young face transformed, showing a maturity and concentration that seemed to belong to someone decades older. The room fell silent except for the distant sounds of Boston Harbor traffic. Grayson's associates shifted nervously as minutes ticked by. The CEO tapped his fingers impatiently, already composing the speech he would give when this ridiculous charade ended with the child's inevitable failure. After several minutes of intense examination, Hope looked up with a slight smile that would haunt Grayson for years to come. "This isn't Czech at all, Mr. Grayson," she said with scholarly precision that seemed surreal coming from a 12-year-old. "It's written in medieval Latin with Czech place names and some Middle High German legal terminology. The script is Gothic textualis, probably from the late 15th century, based on the letter formations and abbreviation patterns." Grayson's confident smirk faltered slightly, like a crack appearing in a perfect facade. "Anyone can make educated guesses, kid." But Hope wasn't finished. "The document is indeed a genealogical record, but it's not what your prod partners claim. It's actually a instrumentum venditionis, a bill of sale from 1487, transferring property rights from the Moravian noble family to the Habsburg crown due to unpaid war debts totaling 10,000 golden florins." If you're witnessing something absolutely incredible right now, hit that subscribe button because what happens next will leave you speechless. Hope began reading portions aloud, first in the original medieval Latin, her pronunciation flawless despite her young age. "Nos Johannes de Moravia, recognoscimus et confitemer." Then she seamlessly translated to Middle High German legal phrases, and finally to modern English, providing historical context that demonstrated not just linguistic ability, but deep understanding of 15th century European politics and law. Her knowledge wasn't just linguistic, she understood the legal and historical implications with sophistication that left the Harvard-educated adults in stunned silence. She explained how the Habsburg acquisition related to the broader political consolidation following the Hussite Wars, and how this document actually invalidated any modern claims to private ownership. "The Prague Consortium is trying to defraud you, Mr. Grayson," Hope concluded with devastating simplicity. "This document actually proves the properties belong to the Czech state, not to any private family. They're essentially trying to sell you stolen goods." The executive office, moments before filled with Grayson's confidence, now felt like a tomb. The implications crashed over the room like a tsunami. Grayson's associates exchanged alarmed glances, their faces pale with the realization that they had been about to commit $75 million based on fraudulent documentation. A 12-year-old girl had just saved them from the worst financial catastrophe in the company's history. That's impossible," Grayson stammered, staring at the small figure who had just displayed more expertise than his entire team of professional consultants. His voice cracked like a teenager's. "You're just a kid. You're just what?" Hope asked quietly, her young voice carrying a dignity that made every adult in the room feel ashamed of themselves. "Just a cleaning lady's daughter? Just someone who's too young to understand important things? Just a kid who doesn't belong in your world?" She set the priceless manuscript down with the gentle reverence it deserved, her small hands treating the ancient document with more care than Grayson had shown for her family's livelihood. "Mr. Grayson, you assumed that because my mom cleans offices and I'm only 12, we must not be smart enough to matter. You never bothered to learn that my mother has a master's degree in education from Haiti that isn't recognized here because of bureaucratic prejudice. You never found out that she speaks 4 languages herself, or that she's been teaching me since I could talk. That knowledge is the most valuable thing in the world. More precious than all your gold and marble." Grayson's face had drained of all color. Behind him, one of his associates whispered urgently about the legal and financial implications of Hope's discovery. about lawsuits they had narrowly avoided, about the criminal fraud they had almost become victims of. You want to know how I learned 9 languages? Hope continued, her voice growing stronger despite her small stature. Not from expensive private schools or $1,000-an-hour tutors. I learned from Mr. Chen at the corner market, who taught me Mandarin during his break times because he saw me reading Chinese picture books at the bus stop. From Ahmed at the library, who helped me with Arabic grammar when other kids my age were playing video games because he believed a curious mind deserved answers. From Maria, the Colombian woman who watches my brother Marcus while mom works her night shifts. She taught me about different Spanish dialects and the beauty of regional expressions. Her dark eyes blazed with intelligence and righteous anger that seemed to illuminate the entire room. I learned from people you probably passed every day without seeing as real human beings. People who work multiple jobs just to survive, who send money back to families in other countries, who still find time to teach a curious kid because they believe learning matters infinitely more than money. Hope's voice carried the weight of generations who had been dismissed, overlooked, and underestimated. These people, immigrants, workers, the ones you call those people, they built their intelligence through struggle, through necessity, through the kind of determination you've never had to develop because everything was handed to you. Grayson slumped into his $1,000 leather chair, the full weight of his prejudice and the near-catastrophic business mistake hitting him like a physical blow. He had been completely outmaneuvered, utterly humiliated, and ultimately saved by a 12-year-old girl he had tried to crush for his own amusement. What do you think was going through Grayson's mind at this moment? Have you ever seen someone's assumptions completely shattered like this? Share your thoughts in the comments. But this was only the beginning. What happened next would transform not just Grayson's business, but his entire understanding of what true intelligence and worth really meant. 4 months had passed since that fateful evening in the marble lobby, and Grayson Industries had undergone changes so dramatic that longtime employees barely recognized the company they once knew. The transformation began immediately after Hope's revelation, when Grayson's legal team confirmed that the Prague Consortium had indeed been attempting to defraud them out of $75 million. The Prague deal was completely restructured as a legitimate partnership with the Czech government itself. Instead of purchasing questionable property rights from fraudulent claimants, Grayson Industries became the official development partner for a series of cultural preservation projects that honored the region's historical significance. The new partnership not only saved the company millions, but established Grayson as one of the most trustworthy international partners in Eastern Europe. But the business success paled in comparison to the personal transformation that had taken place within these walls. Melton Grayson, once a man who measured human worth by bank account balances and pedigree, had undergone a complete metamorphosis of conscience. He established the Hope Saltman Scholarship Fund with an initial endowment of $10 million. Money that could have bought him another mansion or yacht, but instead would change hundreds of young lives forever. The scholarship program provided comprehensive language education, advanced academic opportunities, and intensive mentorship for exceptionally gifted children from underprivileged backgrounds. It specifically targeted kids like Hope, brilliant minds trapped in circumstances that society had written off as hopeless. The program covered everything from tutoring and test preparation to college counseling and international exchange opportunities. Within the first 3 months, the scholarship fund had identified 47 remarkable young people across Boston. There was Miguel Santos, a 10-year-old who taught himself computer programming in 3 languages while living in a homeless shelter. Sarah Kim, whose family fled North Korea with nothing, but who had already mastered calculus at age 11. David Okoye, who spoke 6 African dialects and was developing a translation app to help refugees communicate with social services. The ripple effects extended far beyond individual scholarships. Cosette had been promoted to Director of Community Relations, a position created specifically to utilize her unique combination of organizational brilliance, multilingual abilities, and natural empathy for working families. Her master's degree in education from Haiti was finally recognized through an expedited credential review process that Grayson Industries funded. Josette's first initiative revolutionized how the company operated internationally. She created partnerships with local immigrant communities throughout Boston, establishing a network of cultural consultants and translators that made Grayson Industries' international divisions more effective than ever before. The company went from struggling with foreign partnerships to becoming a model for culturally competent business practices. The Community Voices program that Josette developed brought in native speakers from dozens of countries to provide not just translation services, but deep cultural insights that prevented the kind of misunderstandings that had previously cost the company millions. Former taxi drivers became cultural advisors for Middle Eastern markets. Restaurant workers became consultants for Latin American expansion. The very people Grayson had once dismissed as intellectually inferior became the foundation of his company's international success. Hope herself had become something of a legend within the company and beyond. Now 13 and enrolled in MIT's prestigious youth enrichment program, she remained grounded in her East Boston community while commuting to some of the most advanced academic programs in the world. She studied advanced computational linguistics in the mornings and helped her mother design community outreach programs in the afternoons. On this particular evening, Hope stood in the same marble lobby where the confrontation had begun 4 months earlier. But everything had changed. The reception area now displayed multilingual welcome signs in 12 languages, and the company directory listed the Community Relations Department with the same prominence as legal and finance. The walls featured photos from the scholarship program's first graduation ceremony, showing dozens of young faces that radiated the same intelligence and determination that Hope had shown that night. She was there as Grayson Industries' youngest cultural consultant, a position that seemed impossible for someone who still needed to show ID to prove she was old enough for the job. Her current project involved establishing partnerships with youth programs in 15 countries, creating pathways for international student exchanges that would benefit both the company and the communities they served. Grayson approached her across the lobby, but he was no longer the arrogant man who had mocked a child months earlier. His expensive suit remained, but his demeanor had transformed completely. He moved with the humility of someone who had discovered that his entire worldview had been built on foundations of sand. "Hope," he said, his voice carrying genuine warmth and respect. "I owe you more than an apology. You didn't just save my company $75 million. You saved me from being the kind of person who crushes children's dreams because of prejudice and ignorance." Hope smiled, still small for her age, but carrying herself with the quiet confidence of someone who had faced down giants and emerged victorious. Her voice carried wisdom that seemed impossible for someone who still qualified for children's menus at restaurants. "Mr. Grayson, being smart isn't about how old you are or what fancy school you go to or how much money your family has in the bank. It's about staying curious, being kind to everyone you meet, and learning from every person around you. Sometimes the most important lessons come from people the world tells us to ignore. The cleaners, the immigrants, the kids who don't fit into neat categories." Grayson nodded, genuinely humbled by wisdom from someone who still had to stand on tiptoes to reach the elevator buttons. His transformation was evident in every word, every gesture. "I'm still learning, Hope. Every day I discover how much I didn't know about the world, about people, about what really matters. But I'm grateful for the teacher." Hope's impact extended far beyond the walls of Grayson Industries. Her story had spread through social media and news outlets, inspiring similar scholarship programs at companies across the country. Universities began reaching out to immigrant communities more actively, searching for hidden talents that traditional recruitment methods had missed. The Hope Effect, as some called it, challenged institutions everywhere to reconsider how they identified and nurtured exceptional potential. As Hope walked toward the elevator, heading to her advanced linguistics class at MIT, where she was the youngest student in the program's history, she reflected on how one moment of courage had transformed not just her family's circumstances, but an entire company's understanding of human potential. Her mother Rosette now earned more in a month than she had previously made in a year, and 6-year-old Marcus attended a private school on a full scholarship from the Hope Sultman Fund. But the real transformation wasn't financial. It was philosophical. The girl who once swept floors in silence while adults dismissed her as intellectually inferior had found her voice and used it to remind the world that brilliance can emerge from anywhere, at any age, speaking in any language, if only we're wise enough to listen. Hope's story became a beacon for countless other young people who had been overlooked, underestimated, or written off by a society that confused privilege with potential. She proved that intelligence isn't distributed according to bank account balances, that wisdom doesn't require expensive diplomas, and that sometimes the most profound insights come from those who have had to fight for every opportunity. If this incredible true story has inspired you to see potential in unexpected places, make sure you subscribe right now for more amazing stories of ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Hit that notification bell so you never miss these powerful tales of courage and transformation. The cleaning lady's daughter, who spoke 9 languages, had become living proof that in a world quick to judge by appearances, the most remarkable minds often hide behind the most humble circumstances. And sometimes, all it takes is one moment of courage to change everything. Tell me in the comments, have you ever been underestimated because of your background, age, or circumstances? How did you prove them wrong? Your story might inspire someone else to find their voice.